Hello, welcome back everybody. Let's have a look at some of these coins then, shall we? So I'll just get a little bit closer for this. The mic I've got is terrible, and obviously the webcam I've got is terrible. I'm not a big investor in technology, I should say. So what we'll start with is Bitcoin, and then we're going to have a look at some of these other charts of more or less top asset coins here. And I'm just going to give you an example of how they're all very different at the moment. Their charts looking very different from each other, and that aside, okay, there's things that we can pick up from that, but they're all going to follow Bitcoin. So even though their charts all look different right now, and that's given the fact that I would put that down to the fact that the Bitcoin dominance has been so low recently, it's allowed a lot of these altcoins to start to create their own path, but their path is going to be interrupted with what Bitcoin's going to do, and I'm going to tell you what I think Bitcoin's going to do now. So. And a squeaky chair as well, so if you want to send me some donations I can reinvest, but I'm not prepared to buy this sort of stuff. I've got a working camera, working mic, working chair, until they actually break I'm going to keep it how it is. So Bitcoin on the daily, we are not stuck, but we're technically still uptrending. However, we've recently got on the daily chart lower highs. Okay, we're still getting our higher lows as far as this upwards trending support's concerned, and we've still got our golden cross, and we're above the itchy cloud. Even though we've got a negative cross on the itchy cloud, which generally would suggest that this is the moment to start going on a downtrend, even if it's just for a short time period, as in. It is a daily chart, so we could be talking a couple of weeks, maybe a month, 6 weeks. So I'm not talking bear market time. I'm talking downtrend time. That's what that would generally signify, and that's what we've got. We are above the cloud, and we've got that. So I'm not going to ignore it, but it's making me slightly wary. Also, we've got sort of. It's in positive territory. It's still, but there is a negative cross here on the MACD. Even though today's been a decent day because yesterday's bounce, we've got a bit of a bullish divergence on that. It's still in positive territory, but as far as the spread is concerned, it's still quite gappy. So to me, even though we've had a good day today, it still looks to me like it wants to perhaps test further down for the moment, but it's relatively neutral, but still a bit dodgy. RSI is smack bang in the middle, but with no constructive shape or pattern to that whatsoever. In fact, you could say that it's basically a mess with a bit of a downtrend to it. Money flow index hit a reasonable low, but nothing to even write home about. That doesn't mean anything there. That's not a buy signal or a sell signal. It's a don't bother looking at me signal. Right, so we're looking at the chart now, and the chart is what's going to tell me generally what I think is likely to happen. All right, so as again I've mentioned that we've got we've got positive crosses on the 50 and the 200 EMA there, which is good, but we're now getting negative crosses on some of these. So we've got the 10 crossing the 21. We're beneath and getting rejected from that 21 and the center of the Bollinger Band too. We also, like I say, have that negative cross on the Ichimoku cloud. 34 is coming down. But more importantly than that, we broke down beneath the level of support. Even though we got bought back up and came back into this wedge that we're forming here, we have now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days been sitting on the support level without any significant attempt to move up. Now, if we look at the previous attempts, occasions that we came down to touch this support, we were making giant moves. That was obviously a big move, and we came all the way down to test it. And when we tested it and broke up from it, that was a 22.5% move. Okay, from that time we hit that resistance, and that happened literally within a few days. So the same amount of time has happened since the last time we touched it, and all that's happened really is an actual breakdown with a nice liquidating wick that came back down beneath it. So again, we came back up, and we didn't obviously get to the top here. We made our way to the top eventually, but we didn't get to the top. But then that was our last run. Then when we came down from that, we came down to test the support again, and we tested it once and twice, and then we started an uptrend after 2 days. 3 days if you count the breakdown from here. So again, technically 2 days really. We touched it here. You could say we touched it again, and then we made our way up to testing the top of the range there. And then we broke back down. So again, this is a relatively nice area to trade in, or it has been. I think it's coming to an end now. But when we broke down from it just recently, we broke down, wicked beneath it, we came back up above it, supported with a wick, massive wick beneath it, but supported and again supported. So it is a gradual uptrend of about $60 a day support, but we're not making any attempt to actually try and make our way above it, and being rejected essentially from the centre of the Bollinger Band at this point now. So we're looking weaker and weaker and weaker as the days unfold. And unfortunately, what this means to me, what I'm going to suggest is that this formation is due to break now. We've not got higher highs, we've got higher lows, but it's the general formation that looks like it's getting tired out. You could call this a bull flag, but it's not really, is it? Because this was the spike that we had, and we went up and zigzagged around and up again, so it's not really a bull flag, is it? It's basically this range that we're playing within, and when you play yourself within a range like this, you go to the top, you either break it or you're rejected. You go to the bottom, you either break it or you're supported, and one of these is going to give. And so far, the weaker of the two, the downtrend and the uptrend, the weaker of the two has definitely been the uptrend of support. So I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. So yesterday I did buy in at the dip, and I've sold it now because to me this wasn't looking like anything significant, and I've actually gone short on a few assets at the moment. That'd be Ethereum, XRP, and Bitcoin. I'm short on all of those guys now. Only a little bit, I should mention. Very low leverage, but only a little bit. And the reason I'm low leverage is because there is a chance that this could pop up. And if it does pop off and breaks this, it would be phenomenal. And so obviously I don't want to be caught out on that. I want to have a little bit of leeway. But also what I am expecting is if this does break down, the move to the down is going to be relatively large. So a small leverage is fine for me, because I'm talking with Bitcoin alone, we're talking $1,000 to maybe $1,500 down. So that could bring us all the way down to 8,000 flat. That's basically where the 100 simple moving average is at the moment. Also, it's the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud, thereabouts. That's where I would expect if we were to break down massively, we'd probably find a significant bounce around there. And if that doesn't hold, I think this area here, which we've always found decent supports on over the last year or so, 7,700 thereabouts is going to be where I would expect the bounce to be if we were to go down that low. So if we did break down, we get a giant wick, the wick taking us down to that level there. I would be very surprised if that broke. Now if that did break, then we're talking another $1,000 move down to around about 6,600. Now a lot of this depends on other aspects of the world's finances right now. As we're all aware, it's a bit of an economic disaster at the moment for obvious reasons. As much as we like to think of cryptocurrency as a bubble and Bitcoin being outside of the danger zone of all other areas of finances, I don't think that's the case. It will have definitely been the case before, I believe, because it was a small asset class. It was not in any way leveraged or anything like that for many years, and it came out in that recession period. So a lot of people think about Bitcoin and think, well, you know, if only I'd have just bought Bitcoin back then in that recession, I'd be a millionaire now. That's what it was designed for. It might have been designed for a more efficient way of handling money, but it's definitely not anymore. It's been tied into the ugliness of leverage, which basically makes it a tradable asset both up and down. And to be honest with you, it's going to suffer. If the world suffers, it will also suffer with it. It might bounce back significantly, like you saw already. But if I bring your attention to like the Nasdaq, for instance, that's bounced back. I mean, the FTSE's not bounced back, but everything has bounced quite well. And maybe not as well as Bitcoin as a result of the last crash, the one that happened just a few months ago. But also take it things into consideration. We are still technically consolidating. When we look at this chart, we're still consolidating from our $20,000 high. We've not reached an all-time high yet. In fact, at the moment we're 50% down from our all-time high still after all this time, and stuck beneath a descending trend. So I'm not wanting to make Bitcoin out to be like a dead asset class. I know it's not a dead asset class, but at the moment you do have to take things into consideration. There has been enormous gains from this, but technically we are still consolidating, I believe, from that. So that is the way I'm choosing to look at Bitcoin right now, is that yes, there has been big moves, there has been a big bounce. That's a very short-term thing there. Long-term, nothing special has gone on at the moment other than a long-term consolidation. I mean, obviously, you'd be very happy buying in here, you'd be very happy shorting here, you'd be very happy buying here, you'd be very, very happy buying here, but technically, you'd be very unhappy buying here, you'd be pretty unhappy buying here, and you may be quite unhappy buying here, given the way that this chart looks. And like I say, just my take on it, okay? So, I am technically short for the moment. If we were to break out of this descending trend, I would probably go into perma-bull phase, all right? But for the moment, I'm not in any phase. I'm in a very cautious phase. I'm trading it. I'm trading the ranges, and the ranges short term have told me that this is the range within this little area, and that's not much of a range to trade in. To be honest, if we were to reach from the bottom of there to the top of there, well, it's $1,000, but is it going to do that? It looks relatively tired at the moment, and when you look across the board with altcoins, they've all taken a hit too. It doesn't look strong enough to want to break out of this range, and if anything, we could come up to the top of here around about 10,240, 250, let's call it, today. Obviously it'll be smaller than that tomorrow, and so on and so on. We will likely get rejected, and there's just doesn't seem to be the momentum anymore for that to break. Doesn't say that we can't come up to test it, but if we were to, I would imagine that we'll be rejected from it, confirming another lower high there, and basically coming down. So that would be a phenomenal place to short it from, because technically, I am still bearish on this at the moment, despite this chart looking like this on the short term. I am temporarily bearish on it, but only just temporary. Anyway, that's enough said about Bitcoin. Let's have a look at some of these other guys. So we'll have a look at Ethereum. So this is Ethereum on the daily. I've not charted anything out on this, but if you look at it, it's very much the same deal, with a worse looking chart now, should we say, than that of Bitcoin. So obviously this was an enormous collapse from this level, but we're more interested in the short term ranges. So let's have a look at something about this that's positive. So we've got our golden crosses there. MACD is negative, so that's not good. These are neither here nor there. Above a itchy cloud, but the itchy cloud, actually we don't have a negative cross on the Ichimoku cloud, so that's something positive. So when you're looking at this versus Bitcoin, what we've got is we don't have that negative cross on the itchy cloud. We still have our golden crosses in place. Obviously we do have that with Bitcoin. We've got supported on the green 50, so that would suggest that if that were to hold again, that would be okay. So we're talking about 218 thereabouts. That's where I'd imagine a support being. But if that were to break down, then we've got only these two levels here. We're talking top of the itchy cloud, 200 to 194 to 186. It's not looking great. This one looking obviously tired out as well. Not as bad as and not as obvious as Bitcoin, but obviously it's going to follow Bitcoin and probably amplified by Bitcoin. So I'd leave this one alone, because I'm leaving all of it alone. Obviously I'm shorting this one, and this one, so we'll come on to this one next. And like I say, Bitcoin looks tired, Ethereum looks tired, XRP has been tired for a very, very, very long time. A very, very, very long time. So let's have a look at it at the moment. So you don't need me to tell you that this one looks the worst of all. In fact, I like XRP. All right, I find it a very easy coin to trade. All right, it's the breakouts are usually good, and the shorts are pretty good too. The supports are often quite strong. So yeah, I find it an easy one to trade. Now, you can call me a mug because I trade it with Bybit, so I'm essentially earning a depreciating asset. So all my profits, obviously, no matter what I make, they generally go down in value anyway. But there's always that chance that it may be the world currency, as they all say. But I don't believe in all of that sort of thing. It is what it is, and it's a cryptocurrency all the same. Like I say, I'm in profit despite my profits decreasing in value. So the good thing about this, and the thing that's different about this chart, is that like Bitcoin, there was a descending trend that had been going on for over 2 years, and we broke out of it. The first time we broke out of it, we went crazy and then died. We broke out of it again, went slightly crazy again, and supported from it and stayed above it, and we've constantly been above it, even though this is heading its way to zero, probably some point this year. So I'm not saying that it means anything at this point. All it meant to me was that there was a pump when it broke out of it. It's the obvious place to trade. You break out of that, it pumps, just like it did here. It breaks out of it, it pumps. This is what I'm hoping to see with Bitcoin when it eventually breaks out of it. It will pump. I'm not saying it's going to go to 20 grand. I'm saying it will pump. So it's a good trade to take. If you have this trend line, that's what I would do. I'm not telling you to do anything, but that's what I'm waiting for. Breaking out here, we're talking 10, 20, maybe even more percent pump with a inevitable dump afterwards. So what we're looking at here is we're looking at no golden cross in sight with XRP, just terrible trending moving averages, all basically beneath each other like an upside down rainbow. We've got a Ichimoku cloud cross, which looks actually pretty aggressive at this point, so that would suggest more downtrend. We're beneath an Ichi cloud, even though it's not very strong. We're still beneath here at the bottom of the Bollinger Band, which is obviously not very good. We wicked beneath the Bollinger Band, came back up on the daily. It's not very good. Every aspect of this chart currently does not look very good. The only thing it's got in its favour is this descending trend that we broke out of, and I think the move that's been played out from that, and at the moment we're basically flatlining. So it doesn't look very good unless you want to short it, and this is what I have done. Now, where are my targets for the short? So ultimately, my ultimate target, I'd love to see it come down to test this descending trend. So, I don't even have it mapped out that well, to be honest with you. So let's have a look at where we could go if it were to break down today. We could go down to as low as 15 cent. That would definitely be the support for it. If not, just temporarily, it would be the support for it. So the perfect amount of short would be to come down to test this, or just obviously I'd front run it, because this is a 2-year trend line that I've drawn down, so it's not going to be accurate really. It's a ballpark figure, so it's always best to front run that. So I would look at perhaps maybe shorting this and taking profits around about 16 cents just to be safe. And obviously if we came back any further to test this, I would probably go long on it, for the inevitable bounce from that, because it's such a significant trend line. Anyway, bearish on that one. Bearish. Just for a laugh, we'll have a look at the weekly. What does the weekly look like? The weekly obviously looks bearish. We've got a positive MACD, but that's all we've got. We had a negative cross on the Ichimoku cloud from this level here, the price being there, candle body being exactly where we are right now. So if you were to take this as a signal, which generally is supposed to be a good idea, especially with this setup being beneath an Ichimoku cloud. Okay, so beneath the Ichi cloud, which is red, the cross took place here. If you took that trade anywhere within this here, so we'll call it here, which is where the candle body closed, you would be sitting at a flat zero profit right now, but the signal has been made for a longer term downtrend for this coin. Okay, we are talking XRP here, so that doesn't strike many people, I imagine, as a shock. But given that I'm looking at bearish moves on Bitcoin, even just in the short term, I think that we would likely imagine that this would be coming down as well. Would my area of 16 cent be hit? It's debatable, but it's a dream, Matic. So Matic, an interesting coin, always very different to all the other charts that we've looked at, and as you can see, these charts all look kind of different. Bitcoin and Ethereum look similar, but they still look very different. So where are we going from this one? So on this one, the chart actually looks relatively good. In one respect, we've got our golden cross here. We've got what looks like it could be, I mean, it's a very negative looking MACD here, but there's been bullish divergence on it. We're still technically above the 0 point, and they're getting closer together. So unlike the other assets that we've looked at, the other tokens and coins, this one is forming a tighter gap between the two. So it would suggest that it's less bearish now than it was back here, or especially here. So this interests me a little bit here, because this was very close to being a buy signal on the money flow index. It wasn't a buy signal, it was very close, but this kind of interests me a little bit. This point that we're at right now doesn't interest me at all. And look, if we look at the RSI, it's basically a flat line with a subtle bearish overtone to it. So it looks like we're having a bit of a move today. I sold mine yesterday, so I did buy in at this dump just for Matic. I was expecting Matic to do more moves because of the implementing of staking, but to be honest, I got out because I am still expecting Bitcoin to drop a little. So I did sell just an hour or so ago, really, before I made this video. So when we're looking at this one on the daily, what do we see? We see positive looking longer term projection for the daily chart, but we're coming down to test the green 50 and we've wicked beneath it. I think that this one will probably collapse unless this staking becomes a big thing and it causes a massive FOMO pump. Now you can't account for that on this chart. That's a fundamental analysis, and that's the thing that I was wrestling with myself. Should I or should I not sell my bag of Matic? Because Matic is vulnerable to Bitcoin's downtrends, Bitcoin's dumps. However, it's just on the verge of releasing something which essentially will incentivize people to buy it and hold it. Because since this is a small cap coin, which is available for margin trading, it's caused enormous pumps and dumps, okay? And it's these dumps that have scared people off. That's all I can say about it, really. It's scared people off. People don't like looking at that. People don't like looking at that. People don't like looking at that. These are because it's a margin tradable asset on a very small market cap coin. So it means that it doesn't take a great deal of money. Obviously more than I've got, but it wouldn't take a great deal of money to manipulate the movement of this to the down and clean up, basically. So you can become a Matic whale relatively easy, for a select few people out there, at least anyway. But if staking gets implemented, then there'll be a definite more pressure to the not pressure, but more momentum to the up, because it will incentivize people to buy it and hold it because they'll be getting their staking rewards. And if they do the staking rewards on Binance and on Coinbase, which they probably will, it just makes it a lot easier for the layman like me to actually reap the benefits of those rewards, because I'm not going to be setting up nodes or anything like that. That's not for me. But if I can hold a bag of Matic and earn rewards on it, then that is a bit of me, to be honest. And I know I'll be getting ripped off, but still profit, isn't it? Still more money. So where are we going to go from here? Well, like I say, if that whole staking business comes out, then I could imagine us making decent pumps, and I mean really decent pumps too. But if it's not out by the time Bitcoin dumps, then yeah, we'll be coming further down, testing these levels, perhaps maybe as low as 1.75 cents. So, Chainlink, often the most, arguably the best looking chart in cryptocurrency, generally speaking, but again, very, very different looking chart to all the others, and you can see that. So started all the way down here at the beginning of last year, and then just basically came into its own, didn't it? And has now become one of the main coins out there that people like to buy and hold. And for obvious reasons. I mean, this would have been a great move, but for a pump like that, to dump down to this level and then continue to make a higher high and then come back up to this level shows significant strength on this coin. I couldn't tell you where it's going to end up in the long term, but what I can say is that with a chart that looks like this after coming down from starting from a level like that, I think it's likely to continue to make higher highs over time. don't think this is going to be one of those depreciating cryptocurrencies out there. I think this is legitimate steady growth. You know, when you look at a chart of a company like Microsoft or something that just constantly goes up, I mean, it's strong, it looks strong. But where are we right now? Are we strong right now? Well, this was a bit of a dump here. This was a bit more than most, okay? So we measure that one from top to bottom. We're talking a 12% dump on that one candle. That was more than a lot of other coins out there. So this would suggest that perhaps maybe at these levels here, at this current time, it's a little bit overvalued. RSI was quite high, but not in any area. But look at the money flow index here. A lot of it in there, an 84% read at this level here. So that in itself would almost be the sell signal. It's not an actual sell signal, but it's very close. Out of all the coins that we've seen so far, it's the closest one I've seen for a sell signal. And usually money flow indexes get these things right. Let's have a look here. So if you were to sell here or short here, you would have a decent return. If you were to, that doesn't really count there. But this one definitely, again, another decent call from a money flow index indicator. And again, it didn't break this level here right at the top, which is where you really want to see it. It didn't break that, but again, it came close. It would have been maybe an okay decision to look at that a little closer. On top of that, we had bearish divergence on the MACD. So these two things together, to me, with the decreased volume and obviously the red candles that we've got here on daily charts, it would have been an okay call. Now, obviously, I didn't do that. I don't trade leverage on this coin because I'm not going to do that on Binance. But it would have been a good call there. It would have been a 10% move, 12% move if you had done that. So what are we looking at here? We're bouncing on the green 50 and we're looking relatively weak on that green 50. And we're being rejected just from basically nowhere, to be honest with you, not even a moving average or anything like that. So we're just running out of steam on this one. So I think this one wants to come back down. So where does it want to come back down to? Well, I mean, this Bollinger Band and the Itchy Cloud would both say $3.8, $3.80. Should I say $3.82? But if that breaks down, it would likely come down to one of these two levels, $3.40 or $3.23. Now, is that likely? Who knows? I was surprised to see it fall by that amount, but if it can do that, it can also do this. But we've got areas of support. We've got Bollinger Bands, we've got Itchy Clouds, we've also got the 100 and the 200 here. So these would be definite buys here, definite. But it might not come down that level. It depends on Bitcoin, and even throughout this video, Bitcoin's been doing a little bit of pumping still. It's fighting definitely. It wants to break up above that, at least the center of that Bollinger Band, but doesn't look like it's got the strength. That's what it wants to do. I'm not seeing it. It's been a battle there all day, and to be honest with you, that was a phenomenal bounce yesterday. But I believe that's all it is. There's no coincidence that wick came up to close above here. It was the obvious place. It was a breakdown, but we closed here. We're not seeing that kind of move anymore, are we? We're just not seeing it. Anyway, we'll move on to our last one, which is ADA. So this one did some brilliant moves, and this was driven by, from what I understand, fundamental reasons. So the release of, was it Shelley that everyone talks about, staking rewards and things like that. So ADA's been a bit of a dead asset as well for a long time. It did very well at the beginning of last year, and since then it's just tailed off and kind of flatlined. So a lot of FOMO went into it. I think a lot of people liked it and FOMO'd into it, and then nothing materialized with the technology until just recently, where they've made an announcement, and that's basically, I believe, what's caused this significant strength from it. But at the moment, again, looking at this on the most simplest terms, rejected from the center of the Bollinger Band is what happened with us today. Coming down to test some of these lower levels, we could be talking about 6.5 cent for the green 50. We've still got our golden crosses from back here, and we're still diverging away from each other, so it's still looking bullish in that respect. Let's have a look at this. Ooh, look at that. That's pretty high. But this is the power of FOMO. If you were to short it here, you'd be in trouble technically, because the top of that wick there, you'd have only just started to make profit now. Could you be making profit for the rest of the week? I think it's quite likely. This one to me looks like it wants to come down with everything else. I'm not very optimistic, am I, about cryptocurrency at this present time. But it's only a short-term pullback from what I understand it. If it was to pull back at all, we're still trading within the range with Bitcoin, and this is the thing to really look at. This range is the one that I've been trading now for over a month, and I feel as though it's coming to an end. I did take that trade yesterday, but now it's still not looking strong enough. So that to me is the reason why I'm getting slightly bearish on everything across the board in the short term. Because I think that this formation is likely to break to the downside. So this would mean that every single one of these, even though all of their charts look very different from each other and they've all got different setups, I think they're all getting tired out now, and the party will end when Bitcoin just can't take it anymore. When Bitcoin goes to bed, the party's over, and Bitcoin looks like it wants to sink just a little bit, maybe about $1,500, and then we'll be looking at buying it back on our first opportunity anyway. When I say we, I mean me, not you, because I'm not a financial advisor, obviously. This is not financial advice, this is my plan. Okay, so my plan would be, wait this one out. Now, I tried to trade this range again, it didn't work. It worked all these times, so it's not working at the moment. I'm not willing to risk it at the moment. Well, I would be willing to take a short here. I'm short at the moment, because it looks tired. I do have a stop loss just above the centre of the Bollinger Band for most of these assets, but I would certainly be taking a short here, and I'll be looking to go long on some of these areas here. Now ADA, like I say, we're talking 6.5 cent, maybe back down to 5.2 cent. That would be probably where I'd imagine it to. It wouldn't go any lower than that, 5.2 cent. Anyway, I hope that was useful. It was quite a long video for you. Sorry about that. Obviously, I appreciate you if you managed to stick with it all the way through. I was only joking about buying me a webcam and mic. Everything works fine. You don't need to do anything silly like that. I hope you have a nice evening. Thanks for watching. Take it easy.